You're listening to the suitesflow podcast.
Maybe nearly 600 years ago. Think before 1450, way before the printing press.
Right.
Imagine a world where, well, all the really valuable knowledge was basically trapped. Every important book, scripture, every big idea, it was just a single, fragile manuscript.
Copied by hand, usually by monks.
Exactly. Copied by hand, kept locked away in monasteries, and totally controlled by just a few people.
And that control, it wasn't accidental, was it? It was built into the system. Knowledge just couldn't travel faster than someone could physically write it down.
So the authorities, the church, the rulers, they had the final say in what was true.
Absolutely. But then Gutenberg comes along with this, scalable way to produce text. And suddenly, bam, words can multiply like crazy.
Ideas start moving.
They become mobile, scalable, much freer. And that ability to copy and spread information so fast, that's what really started to chip away at that centralized authority.
Right. Okay, so let's jump forward 6 centuries. We're taking that same historical idea and applying it to something really physical. Architecture, buildings. The big claim in the material we looked at is that modern real estate, especially how we buy and sell and even understand buildings, is still kind of stuck in that pre-Gutenberg silence.
That's really the heart of what we're exploring today, isn't it? We're looking at this pretty radical idea of translating architecture from, heavy, solid matter, a physical thing, into media, something digital, data that can fly around instantly.
Right. So our mission here is to figure out how this shift messes with trust in transactions, what it does to the role of middlemen, the brokers.
And maybe the most fascinating part, why turning a building into data is actually seen as this act of preserving it for the long haul.
Yeah. You're basically going to see how a property can stop being just one object in one place and start being, well, like a global publication.
Let's first pin down the current problem. We're calling it the manuscript model of real estate. So right now, every single building is essentially a unique physical manuscript. It's made of concrete, glass, steel.
A one-off copy.
Exactly. And if you want to read that manuscript, understand the layout, how the light hits, the real view, what it feels like, you pretty much have to physically go there.
Make the pilgrimage.
Yeah, make the pilgrimage. Or, if you can't, you have to rely on an interpreter.
Okay. So that's the glossy brochure, the fancy 3D render of maybe one show unit.
Right, which might look nothing like the actual unit you're interested in. Or it's the broker telling you their story about the place.
So the source material argues this whole system means you only ever get a partial understanding. Access is controlled, it's scarce, and it's super expensive to try and show the whole truth to lots of people.
And that feeds right into the role of the gatekeeper, doesn't it?
It sounds like it. Like the monks back then deciding which text got copied and saved.
Yeah, today the materials we read suggest that intermediaries, like brokers, they act like those gatekeepers. They filter the information, they shape your perception of the property.
And crucially, they manage the scarcity of information to keep control over the deal.
And there's a strong critique implied there. These sales methods, okay, they worked for their time, but they're described as kind of relics. Relics from when sales depended purely on face-to-face persuasion because you just couldn't show the full reality remotely.
So the whole traditional real estate setup is basically designed to manage how little information you get, not to give you full open access.
That's the argument. It's about managing scarcity, not delivering transparency.
That makes a lot of sense. Scarcity needs interpretation, and interpretation needs a gatekeeper. Okay, so let's shift gears. Let's talk about the disruption, the printing press moment.
Right.
When we talk about digitizing space, really getting down into the details, the sources talk about a big change in ontology. That sounds very academic. What's it mean in practice?
For
a developer?
For a buyer. It just means the basic nature of the building changes, what it is. When you translate the architecture into really detailed, unit-by-unit data, every square foot, every window, every tap, you stop just representing the building with a picture or a model.
You start publishing it.
Exactly, you publish it. The building isn't just physical shelter anymore. It becomes a data asset. You can send it anywhere, instantly. People can experience it anywhere in the world.
So the building becomes media? It stops following the rules of construction cost, time, physical limits.
And starts following the rules of distribution. Like any digital file, right? You can copy it infinitely, share it instantly, no quality loss. Totally unlike that single, heavy, physical building.
Okay, and this is what rebuilds trust.
This is the engine for it, yeah. When you can make an accurate digital copy, a digital twin that truly mirrors the reality easily, well, the gatekeeper's power just shrinks, doesn't it?
Because you don't need them to tell you what it's like.
Precisely. Trust shifts away from relying on authority, trust me, this is the view, and moves towards radical transparency. The buyer can just check for themselves.
They can pull up the actual floor plan, see the light in their specific unit at 4 p.m., check the real unedited view from the balcony they might buy.
Total self-serve verification. And that just dissolves the need for that interpreter, that intermediary in the same way.
We've already seen the early stages of this kind of mass digitization effort, though, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely. You have to think about the pioneers. Matterport, remember their mission, digitize the world in 3D. They built a lot of the basic tech for capturing indoor spaces.
Right, the scanning tech.
And then, of course, Google Street View. I mean, that gave all of us this incredible power to see the outside world without having to travel there.
Huge.
Yeah, these were like the necessary first steps. They laid down the digital roads, you could say, for this next stage. Digitizing the inside world, the interiors.
And Street View, that taps into something really deep, doesn't it? Nostalgia, memory. The sources mention how valuable it is. Just being able to wander digitally through a city you used to live in or revisit your childhood street, even if the real place has changed or gone.
Yeah, and the insight there is really key. It points to preservation. If a product existed that had perfectly digitized, say, your favorite places from the 70s or 80s.
Places that are gone now.
Exactly. People would happily pay $100 a month, the source suggests, just for the ability to revisit those perfectly preserved digital memories.
Oh, okay.
It really underlines this preservation idea. When the past is just physical, time just erases it. But if we digitize it faithfully, we're sort of making time reversible in a way.
We're not just selling apartments, we're building a time machine.
Kind of. And that deep human value we place on remembering, that hints at the huge long-term value of this kind of digital preservation.
Okay, so let's get practical. Granular application. This shift needs tech that goes way beyond just pretty pictures or generic 3D models of the lobby. The mission described is about digitizing what usually gets missed. The inside world, every single unit, all the little details. The goal is making each space a permanent digital copy, transferable with the property, shareable across the globe.
And to do that, you need to understand the data underneath. The building industry has used BIM for ages, right? Building information modeling.
Yeah, for architects, engineers.
Exactly. It's great for planning and construction. It holds all the deep structural data, but historically, that super detailed BIM data, it never really made it into a simple, easy to navigate experience for the actual buyer. It stayed complex, technical.
So the challenge isn't just making BIM look nice, it's making it useful and accessible for the person actually buying the place.
That's it.
So what are the specific tools then that deliver this kind of unit level transparency that really move things beyond just marketing spin?
Well, it has to start with being real and being detailed. So we're talking about unit-specific tours. Genuinely.
Not just the fancy model unit downstairs.
No.
Yeah.
Every single unit, even the ones not built yet. Shown with its actual layout, its real finishes, and crucially, the authentic view it will actually have. No more guesswork, no more artist's impressions that hide the bad bits.
Okay, that eliminates the interpretation risk, but you need context too, right? You can't just sell a digital box floating in space.
Exactly right. Transparency has to go beyond the unit's four walls. So the sources talk about tools like the POI map, Point of Interest Interactive Map.
What does that do?
It lets a buyer instantly see what's around the building, where's the subway, the park, or, maybe more importantly, is my balcony facing that noisy loading dock the brochure didn't show?
Ah, the inconvenient truths.
The inconvenient truths made visible. And then you add customizable filters. So buyers can use real data, not marketing fluff, to find what fits their needs. Like, I only want units above the 10th floor facing south with a park view. That kind of search was impossible before without physically checking or trusting the broker.
And for the developer or the sales team, the data they get back from people interacting with this digital environment must be huge.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
You go from just tracking who walked into the sales office to tracking exactly what people are looking at online, in detail.
Real-time engagement insights.
Precisely. They have these interactive 3D models of the whole, building a single source of truth for everyone. And they see where people are clicking, which views they linger on, what features get attention.
And that data feeds directly into managing the sales pipeline more intelligently.
Right. It's all anchored in a verifiable digital reality, not just hopeful guesses about leads.
Okay, none of this happens without the engine driving it. The sources introduce this core technology, VIM, the volumetric information multiplier. This sounds like the piece that takes all that raw data and makes it work.
Vim is basically the translator. It's the magic bit that connects the deep architectural plans, the BIM data with the real-world location data, the geospatial stuff, and the visual data like drone photos or scans.
It pulls it all together.
It synthesizes it. But it's more than just making a pretty picture. Vim is designed specifically to create reliable, data-anchored digital twins of every single unit.
Okay, but wait. If Vim is used to show buildings that don't exist yet, how do we know the view it shows isn't just, another slightly fancier rendering? Isn't there still a risk of making things look better than they are?
That's a really important question, and that's the absolute key difference.
Okay.
Vim's specific function, its proprietary edge, is guaranteeing the authenticity of that external view. It's not just a 3D modeling tool making things look nice, it's tied to reality.
Oh.
It combines the architectural data with real-world GPS coordinates, with elevation data, even with known future building plans for the surrounding area from city data. So the view it generates isn't just plausible, it's essentially verifiable, almost legally defensible.
Because it's anchored in hard data about the real-world location.
It's exactly. It guarantees that even if the view is of a brick wall or a parking lot, that's the real view you're going to get, accurate down to the meter. That is trust made visible. It tackles the deception problem head-on.
Okay, that shifts the whole conversation. It goes way beyond just making sales easier today. It pushes into legacy, thinking in decades, even centuries.
That really is the ultimate vision described. The moment a building is digitized accurately, with that level of detail and verified reality, it stops being just a short-term investment.
It joins the library of human memory.
That's the phrase used, yeah. The argument is these digital assets won't just be useful now. They'll become maybe 1,000 times more valuable for people in the future.
You mean historians, researchers?
Historians, architects doing restorations, maybe just curious citizens. Imagine, 300 years from now, the physical building is gone or changed beyond recognition, but the digital twin survives.
Future generations could literally walk through it digitally, study how it was built, experience it.
Exactly. Someone 500 years from now might scroll through a perfectly preserved digital copy of a 21st century apartment.
Our apartment.
The way we look at ancient scrolls now, searching for clues about how we lived, what we valued, how we built things, it's all saved in the data.
So it brings us right back to the start, that historical loop. From heavy, slow manuscripts
to infinitely fast, light, digital information. Every step making knowledge lighter, faster, more alive.
So maybe the deepest takeaway for you, listening to this, is that digitizing real estate isn't just about business efficiency or slick marketing. It's actually, fundamentally, an act of preservation. The real long-term value of a building we construct today might end up being less in its concrete and steel and much more in its faithful digital record.
The contribution it makes to humanity's massive, ongoing effort to make our world not just livable, but truly rememberable.
This tech is basically trying to save the physical world from being erased by time.
That's a powerful way to put it.
So it makes you wonder, what other really important physical things in our world are still stuck in that pre-Gutenberg silence, waiting to be translated?
You're listening to the Suitesflow podcast.